going to give Ben a hard time when he comes in. That's why it's in my hand. Yeah, because I'm like, okay, come on, Ben, what are you doing? Taking your time.
I know they hollered at me last meeting.
I just said, Neil, fix the clock. Sorry, folks, got to abide by the rules. The Valley Center City Council meeting for August 3rd, 2021 is now in session. Roll call.
Mayor Cicerillo.
Here.
Councilmember Stam.
Here.
Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Kerstetter. Councilmember Kerstetter.
Here, sorry.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Here.
I think we need a new windshield guard for her microphone, guys. Do we have a member of the Pastoral Alliance here? I do not see any. So would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, council, we do have a amendment to the agenda. Item 7C was added, police officer SRO swear in. Swear in, not swearing. Right.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 6, administrative agenda. The city council meeting minutes of July 20th, 2021.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 20th, 2021 as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from July 20th, 2021. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. All righty, we are going to move over to around to presentations and proclamations. Up first is young Miss Rebecca Birchfield, who is here to thank us.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for your time. I would like to thank you for sponsoring an ad in the pageant yearbook. We recently had the state pageant, and it went swimmingly, as you can see. I won Miss Cover Girl. Well, Cover Girl. Trying to think of all the titles. There's a whole bunch. But now we're going on to nationals for Cover Miss. And would like to thank you. There's over 200 girls there, so each one got a free copy of the yearbook with your ad in it. Would just like to thank you again.
Thank you. And Council, I did distribute an ad to you, but we do have the actual program that I will leave here if anybody's interested in seeing it. And she also sent us a nice card that I will let you guys look at. All right, moving on to item B, Valley Center Library Report and second quarter financial report. I know I saw Janice. Oh, there's Janice.
That's different. See. Good evening. What Brent is passing out is a sheet that
Just her mic.
has our stats from the summer reading program for this year. We had 165 reading logs that were returned. Okay. Which is almost double from what we had last year. So we were really pleased, particularly after last year's non-event, I'd say. And on the back side of that sheet is a list of our new hours that started yesterday. And that will bring us to 42 hours a week now. I think the highest we had had in the past was 44. So at this point, we're going to see how things go as far as that's concerned. And if you have any questions about the financials, then I can answer them.
Any questions, Council? Nope.
Okay,
Guess you're good. Thank you.
welcome.
All right, items, wait, A, B, C, yeah. Yeah, item C, okay. I lost track of where I was. Police officer SRO swearing, Isaiah Messick. Who is going to do that?
City clerk's gonna do the swearing in. I'll just introduce him real quick. This is Isaiah Messick. He comes to us from Wichita, was actually his last place of employment. So he is certified mayor. We don't have to send him through the academy. So we'll start off in a modified field training, and then he'll move into the school after that. So he's going to try to stick around a little bit. I think he's got something else tonight. And so depending on when we get done, he may be able to stick around and meet you.
It's official now. You signed it. No backing out now. You can go ahead and take the mask off. Just
Okay. I just want to thank you all for inviting me to your community, and I'm really excited to get started, and I hope I can make a good difference and leave an impact. So it's nice to meet all of you today.
thank you. All righty. Moving on to item 8. This is the public forum. At this time, it's let's try that again. This is time of the public forum for which anybody may speak to an item that is not on the agenda. Seeing none, we will move on to item 9, appointments, League of Kansas Municipalities Voting Delegates. My favorite yearly thing to do. Who's going?
So far, I've heard Ron Colbert is going and I am going. We need the 2 delegates, and if anyone wants to be an alternate, absolutely, I can turn in the name.
going?
But at this point, there's 2 of us going. Just so you know.
Council, we've all been down this road before. I don't think we need a whole lot of explanation of what we need to do here. So there's 2 people going.
Motion to make Christy and Ron the voting delegates. I don't know what else to say.
That's good enough.
Okay, perfect.
Second.
Going to motion in a second. Any further discussion? If anybody else is planning to go, please let us know. We can make you the alternate, or if you're a governing body member, we could switch you with Christy as well. So no further discussion. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to scoot right down to item 12, new business. Item A, recommendation for insurance benefits broker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy August. If you blinked, you missed July and June. So with us this evening is Matt Quinn and Christy Powell with IMA. We went through an RFQ process and involved our wellness committee in selecting a new broker for our health insurance benefit programs when it comes to, of course, our health insurance, dental, vision. And they're here this evening with you all to kind of give a quick little elevator speech and answer any questions if you have any. So I will turn it over to them.
Welcome.
Hey guys,
Good.
thanks for having us.
Good evening. My name is Matt Quinn. I'm a commercial insurance broker with IMA. We had the privilege of working with Brent and Christy and Barry in the RFP process, and just appreciate the opportunity to meet you all tonight. Christy Powell is our Wichita employee benefits market leader, and she wants to tell you a little bit about more about IMA and the services we provide.
So I have the elevator speech.
You have the elevator.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys for having us. We really enjoyed responding to the request for proposal for the city. And honestly, your team and the wellness committee, this is like a really cool energy here. Everyone's very happy, and I can already tell it's going to be a really good partnership, hopefully with your approval tonight. A little bit about IMA. We were founded in Wichita, Kansas in the early 70s. We've got about 250 associates now down on East Douglas. And one of the areas of expertise for us is employee benefits. We work with over 35 counties, cities, school districts, so and so forth in Kansas. And so public sector is a big emphasis for us. You guys are also kind of already an IMA client. You're part of the KMIT program for your workers' comp, and that's managed by IMA as well. The RFP was pretty focused around value-added services and things that we could bring to the table for your staff. One specifically was customer service. So we spent a lot of time talking about the dedicated team that would be helping Christy kind of offload some of the things that she has on her plate right now to help her make more of a difference in your workforce. The other thing was technology. So we're going to be deploying an online enrollment system for you guys, and that was a big emphasis through the RFP process as well. So those are some of the highlights of the things that we'll be focused on here right away, and we need to get to work here in a couple weeks and kind of begin our kickoff call and do some good work for you guys. That 3 minutes? That was faster than 3 minutes. Any
Council,
questions I
is there
can
any
answer?
questions?
Any questions?
Go ahead. Councilmember Evans.
I guess I just had a quick question
Sure.
for understanding. Is this
for all of the members of the city of Valley Center?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
What kind of, as far as the employees, what kind of benefits, comparable benefits to what you guys already have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So part of the RFQ process is for us to take over the existing program that's in place, but just bring in additional services. So at this point, there's no change happening with the structure of the plan or the way in which the city has the structure. It's really more of us bringing the services to the table. So we're a broker consultant, so we'll take over that existing program and then also provide additional services at the same time.
Okay, I think I understand.
So nothing changes with our current plan.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
what we offer our employees or their spouses. All that changes is what they negotiate. When we come up to renewals, they take care of all the customer service side. So our complaints go to them and then they take care of it.
So they're the ones that we got, how much is it going to cost questions for? Okay, gotcha.
I imagine we'll be back in front of you here and, through the renewal cycle, if part of our engagement, we're happy to do that, to talk about how the plan's performing, what to expect for renewal, all those good things.
Sure.
Councilmember Anderson.
This was for staff. Is the online enrollment new? Have we ever done online enrollment? Okay. And that, if I'm not mistaken, it will be a big time saver. In the past, we had to have all of city staff meet, and it was at least was it a full day?
We've always had an open enrollment. I'm not sure that will completely change this first year. They'll probably still come out and do an all-staff meeting just to go over the platform of the online capabilities.
Okay.
But yeah, I would spend a lot of time after that open enrollment going through these paper forms. Who changed? What do I need to update? And so yes, I am very excited about the online enrollment, that they can run a report and I've got it.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
One more follow-up question is probably for Mr. Clark. Contract length?
Yes, and so this will be, the initial one will be for 2 years, I believe, will be for a 2-year agreement for them to represent us. We've had our current broker for a number of years. I did sit down with that company and did let them know that we were transitioning based upon, of course, after council approval. So did want to, with the relationship we've had with them with our current broker for over 10 years, I think the actual firm for over 30, did want to make sure that we communicated with them before any of this went out. Also, too, real quick, the technology platforms, of course, with Mr. Barry Smith, he's a huge advocate to turn everything technology. So guess what? The employees are going to have their very own app. And so a separate app that will have all the documents on it, will have all the information of what their plan is. The platform that IMA has really stood out beyond everybody else. And so they'll be able to go home with their spouse, sit down, really look and understand the information, and then sign up right on the app versus having to fill out the paper forms. And then Christy's sitting and looking at each individual box to see what changed. Christy spent a tremendous amount of time. I don't know how long before and after open enrollment. Probably weeks that this will save her in time. So looking forward to it. Sorry, you had another question.
Cost, is it going to be comparable to what we've been paying?
Yes, it will be comparable to what we're paying now.
Okay. And
when it comes to the percentages and then what the total amount not to exceed is what we'll enter into for an agreement.
Remind me what fund this comes out of?
This comes out of our employee benefit fund.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks.
Well, I'm glad to see that there's another step into the 20th century with technology. And yes, I know I said 20th century. Because as you all know, I have been a big advocate of getting stuff, technology increased in this city, and it's done a great job. So thank you. I don't think we have any more questions. No, thank you very much. Oh, we need a motion, but.
I move to approve to enter into agreement with IMA for insurance benefits broker services effective September 1, 2021.
Second.
In a second, is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item B, ordinance 135821, rezone property 930 South Meridian.
Good evening. Mayor and council, before you tonight, you do have the rezoning ordinance. This has been approved by the city's planning and zoning board. This property is currently a vacant piece of property, again addressed as 930 South Meridian. This is in a mixed-use area. As you'll recall, this has a number of single-family homes. To the south, there's also the petroleum terminal. And then to the north, there is the Unruh office building, and then what's now being converted into Builders First Source local headquarters building as well. The purpose, which was included in the staff report as well, there's a letter from the applicant stating that why they're requesting this rezoning. So this property is currently zoned C2, which is our general business district. They're requesting the zoning to be changed to industrial to allow them to create what we're calling an open air recreational vehicle storage area. Board, when they approved this, they did put a couple of caveats on this that if this rezoning is approved, that before this area, the storage area be created, that a screening plan as well as overall development site plan is submitted by the applicants for review and approval by the city staff review team. This is to ensure not only that the area is safe and run efficiently, but that it is also aesthetically congruent with currently what we have on Meridian. Again, Planning and Zoning Board is recommending approval. With these rezoning ordinances, we have 2 readings. So we have before you tonight the first reading. I'll stand for any questions you may have regarding this application.
Councilmember Wilson.
Are the De La Rosas with us tonight? Okay. If you don't mind coming to the podium real quick. Maybe, and maybe you could answer those questions for me. So is this your first go at this on this place of rental spaces, or do you have these elsewhere?
No, that's my first investment on that property.
Okay, all right then. That's my question. Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Councilmember Anderson.
I had more of a comment, but when I saw this on the agenda, I drove by the property because the one thing I was worried about was ingress and egress for whatever vehicles would be going in there in the future. And there's already 2 drives that are lowered enough that, from what I could tell, because along that area, if you know how high the curbing is and the yards are in some of those locations, but there's already 2 concrete drive entrances on the north and the south end of that property. So that was the one worry that I had when this was coming up. But after driving by and seeing it, I don't have any worries on that.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
I just wanted to comment that I like the idea. I think the area could use this, I hope. So rather than driving in Newton or further or Wichita, I just think it's a good idea. So
That idea come up with us because we bought a RV and we was trying to find a place to rental, and it wasn't any place around here close to us. And we live just out of that property on 940, and that vacant lot has been vacant for we lived there for 16, 17 years there. So, I mean, we try to, maybe make investment for kiddos growing up, maybe later on. That's the idea.
Councilmember Gregory.
I have a question for Ryan. What other possibilities would be allowed with industrial zoning?
So for industrial zoning, anything that's built prior to it being built would have to go through the city site plan review process with the city staff review team and the planning and zoning board. The issue with this piece of property is that most of it's in the floodplain. So right now, open air storage is fantastic because you can just lay down some gravel. You don't have to worry about constructing a building and going through the floodplain development review process. So right now, if it was zoned industrial, you couldn't build anything on it without starting first the floodplain review process with the state of Kansas. But again, some of those, you could have larger commercial, some factory style, but again, it does state in the zoning code that it cannot emit odors or smoke, things like that. But there are multiple layers of review that would have to take place, especially on this property before something could be built.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
I want to piggyback off the Ms. Jean Gregory's comment. Could they make it a covered with like a pole barn type construction.
So again, what would need to happen because it's in the floodplain?
They have to go
First,
through that
floodplain
process.
development permits would need to be acquired by both the state and the city, and then go through the site plan review process.
Just for that simple kind of structure? That's
Yes, any kind of
easy.
structure in the floodplain has
All
to
right.
go through a level of review. Absolutely.
Good to know.
Yes.
Well, now he knows too. Yeah.
Anything else, council? Because I do have some comments. I have some serious concerns about this being in an industrial lot in between two residential lots. Based on what he just said, and this is not against him, and it's not against what he wants to put in here. I'm worried down the line that somebody's going to want to come in and put something totally not, I don't know, I don't want to say the word relevant, but something, because it's industrial, I mean, basically, you could have a factory there. I mean, it still have to be approved, but because it's industrial, and again, for what you want, that's fine. I mean, I think it's perfect. And I'm not sure if anybody else knows, but there's a lot of history with that land because of the oil pipes that run underneath it, which is why Mike Davis never built his building over there. I believe those pipes have been evacuated and vacated because they were old Jayhawk pipes. But when he bought that, he obviously didn't do his homework first. But the way the pipes crisscross through his property, there is really that property. There's really no big section enough to build without putting on top of those. So I mean, this is an actual perfect purpose for this land. So I was gonna let Councilmember Anderson comment first, but what I would think to prevent this from being in any industrial, could we create an exception to the commercial that allows it to be an exception as long as he owns the land or it's in his possession? I'm not, like I said, I'm concerned about the future, not the now. And I know commercial, I mean, there's a huge jump between commercial and industrial. So that is the way I would like to approach it, but I'm going to let Councilmember Anderson make his comments.
I would just had a comment kind of based on the zoning. It's currently C2.
Yes.
What could be built on that property? Not the floodplain notwithstanding. What is qualified to go on C2?
So let's say hypothetically you go through a floodplain review, you raise the ground up, you get all that done. What could be built on there would be anything such as an office building. You could have a gas station, pretty much almost any type of business or office that you could think of would be allowed in C2 zoning.
And why is the open air RV storage not allowed under C2? I guess.
Because in our zoning code, RV storage is only allowed in industrial zone districts.
Okay.
And that's how our zoning code is written.
Okay.
So that's, if it was allowed under C2, obviously that'd be fine. But again, any type of storage of RVs, that has to be zone industrial.
So I guess the point of my question was leading to, we're not jumping from residential to industrial. Mr. Davis was the previous owner, already rezoned it to C2. So if for some reason we didn't approve this, they could still build a commercial structure on that property.
Yes.
Okay.
But they would not be able to have RV storage.
Right. Okay.
Councilmember Colbert.
Yeah, I just have one question. Looking at that design, the enter and annexes, is that going to cause a traffic problem here? Because you
No,
got
there's
big
two
campers
egresses.
coming in and out there. It's going to be like a big truck going in and out.
No, there's the ingresses and egresses. There's two entrances to that. So I don't think it'd be any different than, I mean, you're talking about a fifth wheel travel trailer. I mean, it would probably be no more different than what goes on at the fuel filling
Yeah.
area down
Well,
south.
that's what I was concerned
Yeah.
about, yeah.
Any other comments, council? So is it possible to give an exception to this? I mean, we are the governing body and we are allowed to make the rules, or they are the governing body. I am just a mayor making a suggestion.
What Brent has highlighted, I think could be used as a, well, I see where you're going, Mayor, and I fully support it. My issue is that this will generate another application. What this does is for us to do this correctly, and I think this is what Barry's alluding to. In order for us to do this correctly, we'll need to have a public hearing, a separate public hearing. But I think what we could do, I'm not going to call it a variance, but something akin to a variance, to where we could put this before the Planning and Zoning Board with, of course, with City Council's blessing, send it to the Planning and Zoning Board and have them recommend approval of it, have them vote. Barry, how do you feel about that? The legality of that?
How about, all right. I see where the flaw in the plan is here. What would it take to pull that line item and put it into this code, but still let him get going on what he wants to do? I'm stretching here real, because
that'd be an ordinance. That'd be an ordinance to change the code.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to,
Like a separate ordinance.
I'm not trying to stop him. I'm trying to think way out in the future. And, you know, I may not even be in Valley Center when that happens, but I don't want them to go back and say, well, look, the council just let this happen and now there's nothing we can do about it. So I'm a future looker here. So, Councilmember Anderson.
There's, following Lou's line of question, when it's zoned industrial, does that, anything that goes in there still has to come back before the body? Or does it just go through planning and zoning?
So in order to build anything, industrial, of course, is going to be of a commercial nature. And so and also in our zoning code, that does mean that it has to go before the Planning and Zoning Board for the site plan review before we'll issue a building permit.
Okay. So
before the Planning and Zoning Board beforehand.
There is the list of permitted uses in a industrial, and you know, it's the things that like.
You're on C2, aren't you?
No, he's on industrial.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah.
That's odd. Why are animal hospitals in industrial as well? I mean, we've got two of them and Main Street's not industrial.
You can have them in commercial as well. I got a call about that earlier today, actually. So what we're looking at is, if you see number 24, that's why we're requesting this rezoning is requested, where it says recreation vehicle manufacturing, sales, service, and storage is the item for the requested rezoning.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
So the hoops he would have to jump through, since this is in the floodplain, are quite extensive right now, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve the Planning and Zoning Board ordinance, excuse me, I read the wrong line, I apologize. Motion to approve ordinance 1358-21, rezoning of land located at 930 South Meridian Avenue, Valley Center, Kansas, for first reading.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-1.
Thank you.
I would like to see this change, though, for something like this. I don't know what we would take, and I know I just don't think it's that is something that should be classified, at least the storage, classified as industrial. So if we could change that, and you know, then we'll have to switch. Well, yeah, it wouldn't matter because industrial is higher than commercial anyhow. But for future, let's move that into the C
I can tell
areas.
you, that's a good point. So in the near future, we will be updating our city's comprehensive plan. So I think looking at our zoning code is going to be an excellent project in tandem with updating our city's comprehensive plan.
And before you walk away, there was one thing that
Not going
really,
anywhere.
and you know where I'm going with the zoning and the county's information. When I saw this, I did some research, and it turns out that the county does not put in the information that we tell them that this area is zoned for. That lot shows up on the county as residential still, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how we need to rectify this, but I do know that, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't the rate of taxes based on what the property is zoned for? I mean, it's not, I mean, we have different, I mean, you
Brent,
know,
can you pull that up? It's under documents, what he's referring to. Under documents.
yeah, it was the,
And then it's property
card. It was the
property
detailed,
record. The property record card.
property record card. It's a PDF, so yeah. So
If you
if you
can
look,
zoom in, yeah, sorry.
zoom in under zoning, it's got an R there for residential. So again, I believe the rates are based on how it's zoned, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, but that's under the property classification. So the zoning, you're talking about either the residential, commercial, agriculture.
Yes.
That falls under the property class, not zoning.
Okay.
So they have the property class as vacant. So I don't know what that percentage is.
Okay.
But that should, obviously that would change if something were put in there
Okay.
where
All right.
it's
That's
commercial.
That's okay.
But
That was
I know what you're referring to. Yeah. So the taxation rate is established with the property class,
okay.
not zoning.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That
You're
was
welcome.
great education for me. Councilmember Kerstetter.
I just want to say thanks for investing in that property and the community.
Yep. Yeah. So, all righty. Moving on to item revised final plat approval for Cedar Ridge Estates.
All right, so this will look familiar. We had recently approved the Dill Hill final plat, and after this was approved by City Council, the developer realized that they needed to make a few amendments, a few changes, and they have made these changes prior submitted to Sedgwick County yet for to Cedar Ridge Estates. A couple of the streets have been changed. There was a curve at the entrance, which has now been made perpendicular with Seneca Street. The property boundaries for the lots have been adjusted slightly to allow for the proposed homes to be built in there. The overall plat will still contain 27 residential lots. The developer also did submit a utility site plan. That plan has been reviewed and approved by the city staff review team, and the revisions have been approved as well. And so this is coming before you tonight for final approval. Again, once approval is given by City Council, we'll get the signatures from the mayor, the city clerk, and the city attorney. Those are the last signatures that we need to get from the city. We'll turn it back over to the surveyor, who will again file it with Sedgwick County.
And the name change did throw me when I read through this until I looked at where it was and I said,
Right.
oh, there's a name
Right.
change.
Exactly.
So, all right. Any questions from council? Their motion?
Make a motion to approve the revised final plat for Cedar Ridge Estates based on the Valley Center Planning and Zoning Board recommendations.
Second.
A motion and a second. Did you get the second? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. It is item D, second quarter financial review. It's treasurer time.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are you all this evening?
Great.
Good. Outstanding.
Fine and Dan Doodly.
All right. Well, you can see, like we've done for the last couple of years, we submitted for you in your packet this evening a document called Fiscal Year Mid-Year Review for 2021. If you took a look at it, you may have noticed that there's one kind of major difference in the majority of the document, with the exception of the second page here. There are no numbers, no totals, no graphs, no charts, no percentages, just accomplishments, just the things that the departments have been able to do with the money that they've spent. We felt that for a couple of reasons we did that. The main reason is when you guys are looking through your packet and reviewing all that information, this is probably a lot more interesting to look at. The other reason is Barry has presented to you our budget dashboard. So when we go to that by clicking VC Interactive Budget, we no longer need to create all of that and put it in a document for you, because it's available to you and every resident here in Valley Center and anybody who has the internet at any given time. So we're just going to kind of review it there a little bit real quick. So I'm going to start off with revenue, because that comes first in my brain. I'm going to highlight both because I want to compare the budgeted amount with the actual amount for 2021. Our general fund,
I love this.
you'll see here the notable things are that if you look at like what we've received in tax revenue, the majority of it's already there. I probably say this every year. I'm pretty sure I do, that our biggest disbursements of ad valorem taxes come in January and June. So by the mid-year review, most of it's already been dispersed to us. We will still get one in October that should round that out. The other thing about this, if you look at other revenues, that's the CARES reimbursement that's been throwing all my pretty charts and graphs off year long. But other than that, I mean, we're pretty much in line. Governmental is our sales tax numbers. We're a little bit ahead of the curve. We budgeted a little bit lower for 2021 because when we were writing this budget in 2020, we were all really, really nervous about sales tax. I've said it every single review for the last year and a half. One of these days I'll stop talking about it. But so it's budgeted a little bit lower, but things are going right now. If we keep moving down this path, it's going to come in over budget. Taxing funds, everything's in the middle of the year. And the last thing for revenues that I kind of want to touch on is that in our special revenue funds here, we've added 2 new ones, one for the TIF and one for the new rec center and pool. The TIF, obviously, no activity there yet. But the rec center, we have started collecting those sales taxes. They were, businesses started collecting them April 1st, which means we got our first disbursement of those funds in June.
Can you make that column bigger?
Yeah, I can.
I mean, I knew you could.
$53,000 is how much we received in the June disbursement for sales tax collected in April. And it's not on this chart because we haven't updated it for July, but it's about the same for July.
Do we know, we're on that subject, I know there has increased their sales tax yet. Do we have any idea if that has gotten caught up? Either one of you can answer that.
File your sales tax return with the state. It doesn't matter if you collected it or not.
I mean, they're going to end up paying for it. If they didn't, they're going to end up paying for it. But I do know there were a couple, or at least one chain, Quick Shop, that had not adjusted their tax amount yet, even though I had told them, the manager and the district manager, but that's not coming from them. And I just reminded them that you're going to pay for it out of your own pocket if you don't do that. So
yeah, that is true. Because when you file that return with the state, they don't give you the choice of saying, "Oh, I forgot to. We were collecting." They're going to say, as of April 1st, it was 8.5%. So we did try to make sure that people knew, because we don't want anybody to get shorted. And then if we switch over to revenues, expenditures.
Look at that, no expenditures. Great job.
It wants to load. It does.
A second ago.
Oh, it was so well. Well, let's try this.
We are working on increasing our internet speed. Just so you are aware, that is an issue that we do have here at City Hall, and we are trying to address it in a timely manner.
I don't know how many times I've told you guys, just tap into their fiber next door. They'll never know.
As far as departmental expenditures, you can see most of them are right where they should be, kind of there in the middle. The only one that I think maybe I just owe a little bit of an explanation on is community development. We paid for the strategic plan out of a community development line item, and it made their budget look a little bit off. But Correspondent interest, I mean, that looks really low because that's all transfers in. When we make those payments at the end, it's all stuff that's transferred in from other funds. And those transfers all just happen at the end of the year. So kind of the same reason that all of these enterprise funds have pretty low looking expenditures is because at the end of the year, we'll have a bunch of transfers to pay debt service, transfers to pay admin fees, things like that. Rolling the wrong place. But everything's looking really good. You guys have any questions?
Council?
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to say it again, by the way. This is great. I don't know how much easier. Some of the presentations back in the day that everything was on paper was always driving me nuts. And I am just so glad to see that. So.
Well, we really do hope if anybody has any questions that they can review this. And if you are looking at this and that sparks more questions, feel free to reach out to one of us. Any of us here at City Hall can help you find answers.
Oh, Councilmember Anderson.
Can I make one comment and request? Could you change the colors on those to where they're not so close together?
Or contrasting, we'll see
Yeah.
what we can do. Yeah,
Just
here
a
it
little
doesn't look like
thing.
that. Up there it does.
I
It
think
looks
on
pretty
the
close.
I think on the website, looking at it not on a giant screen, it's probably easier to look at.
It is black and it doesn't look black up there.
Yeah, here, like that, we can sure see if we can find something with a little more contrast and see what we can do.
Thank you.
All righty.
I move to accept and file a report.
Second.
Motion and a second to receive and file. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Move on to item 13, consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Great. Moving on to staff reports. Mr. Schrack. No, I'm not signing it. No. Mr. Owens. You were gone last time. No, I was gone last time. Never mind. You were gone when I was gone. Yeah. Sorry. Never mind.
Just a real quick comment about the consent agenda tonight. In your packet was the information about the community barbecue coming up on August 21st. So real big event. Didn't happen obviously last year with COVID. Slated for August 21st. Hope to see you all out there. So anyways, it is from 6 to 10 p.m.
Chief Newman.
Really nothing other than my second quarter reports. I'll stand for any questions if you have any.
Don't see any. Thank you, sir. Mr. Eggleston. Mr. Golka. There you are.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So as promised, we did a deep dive with the staff report this go around. So last Thursday, I kept city staff busy into the early hours of Thursday afternoon, going through all of our projects in great detail and wanted to convey some of that discussion in our staff report this evening. So what you'll find is the last item associated with each of our projects is the project details, where we provide a little bit more of an overview as to where we're at in design and plan and specification development, as well as what construction, bidding and construction timelines look like. And then any projects that may have impacts to traffic. Just a general item is included there. As we approach final plans and certainly before construction, those traffic control plans would be widely broadcast and certainly provide more information than just one line in a staff report. So I just want to hit on a few key notes here. I don't plan on reading through these bullet by bullet or bogging down the meeting. The 4th Street project is first. So as you'll see, our design and plan production is coming very close to the completion stage. A few things that we're working through now are utility coordination. So we've had preliminary sets go out to those franchise utilities. We've already coordinated sanitary sewer and water for our public utilities. We have received word from Kansas Gas that they are very likely looking at a full main replacement for the project length. We would like to give them the opportunity to complete that work ahead of our contractor getting hot and heavy. There's going to be some opportunity for overlap on that. What that means is we may potentially be looking at a spring construction date. So there's some things that we can do in the late fall, early winter in terms of demolition, but there are some limits to temperatures for placement of pavement. So to avoid a Fifth Street type situation where, we get part of the way through construction, have to issue a stop work order, and then are dealing with the return of a contractor in the spring, we would like to be as thorough as we can with that process. So I certainly understand there may be some frustration associated with not getting started on that project sooner, but it will give us the opportunity to go through property acquisitions for any temporary and permanent easements that may be required for that, and give our partners and utility companies an opportunity to relocate ahead of our contractor hitting the site. 4th Street Waterline Project was kind of an after the fact deal. That's a water line extension along the same limits. That's tied. That's not holding anything up. So we're in good shape on that project. A few key notes I did want to hit on the meridians. So right now, North and South Meridian, those project limits are from Main to 5th, and then basically from the railroad tracks south to the city corporate limits south of 69th. So I understand there was a great discussion at the July 6th council meeting regarding some intersection options. We look to bring back some recommendations, some project cost estimates as to what turn lanes or signalization or a roundabout may look like, and some considerations for a traffic impact study primarily related to turning movement counts for what warrants we may meet to recommend improvements. So that would be coming up at our next council meeting. We have some more information to kind of further that discussion along. They are tied to federal fiscal year 23. So what that means is the earliest that we could bid those projects is October 2022, which would be perfect. We look to roll right through the end of the 4th Street project into the Meridian project. Certainly don't want to chop off two of our arterials at the same time. A few things that we are looking at within those projects. We talked about the intersection, also considering streetscape options. So that can mean a variety of different things in terms of plantings, so trees and shrubs, lighting and pause points. So there's some different options that we're evaluating with that. South Meridian, so we currently don't have sanitary sewer service, city sanitary sewer service south of 4th Street. We're evaluating options for what an extension may look like. Where does it make sense to place a lift station? What does a service boundary look like that we could potentially bring not only existing homes, but support future development to the south? That's a memo that we look to bring back to council for further discussion. The question comes up, how are we going to fund all of these things? So we're really in a fortunate position right now, which is noted, I think, as items 3 and 4 on both of the Meridian projects, to some different opportunities through WAMPO. One's through a highway fund and one's through some corona relief funding. So we completed applications, actually reviewed those with city staff at our meeting on Thursday and got those submitted on Friday. So fingers crossed, hopefully we'll come back to a later council meeting with some good news on receiving some additional funds that will allow us to not just replace pavement and improve drainage, but also improve quality of living at the same time through some things like streetscapes. Water tower rehab, we're in really great shape. We're very close to wrapping that up. One of the last things that Brent has challenged us on is to make sure that if we're going to invest in the exterior coatings and the awesome logo that council selected, we want to make sure that it's well lighted. That you can actually see it more than just when the sun is up. So we are evaluating to make sure that there are no whoops after the tower gets painted and you can't see it. But outside of that, those projects are ready to go. Time frame is really going to be tied to low water usage. So in addition to the exterior of the tank, we're doing interior cleaning, which means the water tower is going to be offline. Potential concerns for fire safety. So we certainly want to make sure that that downtime is limited to as short a period as possible, as well as occurring during low demand, low risk time periods. So we're looking towards rainy seasons, primarily in fall and spring for that work to occur. I think more than likely it's slim chance that we'll catch a tower contractor that can fit it in this year. So more than likely spring 2022, but no hurry, no public safety risk or anything like that. I think we're in good shape. And then that project is funded as well. That's the infrastructure. The other stuff we've talked about water treatment plant. We've completed the study for that. Quiet zones, I understand I owe council an update to the Fifth Street concept and a phased approach to the estimates. That's coming up at our next council meeting. And then the other smaller stuff that we've got going on, water line relocation to support the builder's first source, is kind of right in the heart of construction right now. Nest drainage improvements for the 2 days of construction that lasted went very well. That project's substantially complete. A few things that we're just buttoning up with the contractor, and then a variety of miscellaneous things that just kind of round out our week. So I'll stand for any questions. Otherwise, thank you.
Council? I do have one. The gas line or the gas main, how much are we widening forward there? Where does it lay? Does it lay off to the end of the show, off the, where the drainage ditches are, or is it more into the street, the gas line forward?
The gas main's outside of pavement. They've got crossings for services. I can't tell you how many street projects where we start, milling and removing pavement, and then we hit services that are, 6 inches deep. So I want to make sure that doesn't occur during construction, but a large part of their relocation is driven by the storm sewer and the drainage improvements.
That's right.
So where we're deepening and widening ditches outside of our paving limits, because generally speaking, we're keeping that 2-lane section, widening turn lanes associated with new development, existing development, but not creating a highway necessarily through there, or something like the industrial park like Clay, which is a 41-foot back-to-back street. Kansas Gas is reacting to our storm sewer and our drainage improvements. The grades are probably won't look all too different, but we'll definitely have some positive impacts to the drainage in the area.
Councilmember Anderson.
How old is that gas main? Are they just using this opportunity to replace it, update it? Is that part of it, or is it because of our project?
Yeah, I think our proposed improvements hits it in enough locations that they just said it's easier to replace it. I've been a little bit out of the loop out of the direct contact with the franchise utility, or with Kansas Gas directly. I think it's just a matter of, if we hit it every 200 feet, it's just easier to lay a new line rather than dip underneath every conflict.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Great. Almost, man, almost. Councilmember Kerstetter.
Backing up on the Ford Street project, our section, when is that going to start? From Broadway to the ditch?
Realistically, March or April of 2022.
All right, sounds good.
All right. I think you're good. Thank you, sir. All right, moving on. Mr. Arbuckle. Mr. Smith is on vacation. Are you going to report for him, or are we just going to move on to you? All right, we'll move on to City Administrator Clark.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. So I really don't have anything this evening.
Then why'd you get up?
Because this Saturday, because I know he's watching, Mr. Barry Smith's birthday is Saturday. So this Saturday is his birthday. So I wanted to wish him a happy birthday as he sits at home and watches us on YouTube. So happy early birthday, Barry.
Yes, Barry. And no, we won't sing to you because it won't sound good at all over the internet.
I'll stand for any questions.
Council? All right. And we'll move on to governing body reports. I have had something in my head, lost it. So, I can't think of anything. I'll move on. Councilmember Stam.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Evans.
I have nothing.
Councilmember Davis. Councilmember Anderson.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Gregory.
Nothing.
Councilmember Kerstetter.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Wilson, if you say no thank you, I'm going to cut your tires when you get home because I know where you live.
I'm good, my finest neighbor. I'm good.
And I did say that. So if it happens, I'm screwed now. So I tell you. All right, Councilmember Colbert.
Chief, I'll be calling you later, just letting you know.
First, no other further business, the meeting be adjourned.
Second.
Caught you on.
Holy cow, that took way too long to get a second, folks. You want to stick around for a while? I can just hold off and ask for it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow.
We gotta have fun or it'll never end.